Welcome to How to Save Your Marriage with Nicola Beer, a full show of tips and practical strategies to repair, rebuild, and strengthen your relationship. If you are currently stuck, wondering if your marriage can be saved, or you know you want to save it but don't know how to go about changing it, this show is for you. To book your free marriage strategy session with Nicola, get the free marriage ebook or donate. If you are enjoying the show and want to help keep it flowing, visit www.nicolabeer.com.
Hi and welcome. I'm so happy you're here because today's topic is a really important one, and it's how to deal with a partner who always needs to be right. And actually, I got an email from a lady who wanted to know how to deal with her husband who always had to be right, who was causing her a lot of stress and a lot of difficulty in the relationship. And she got to a point where she thought, I don't know how to deal with this anymore, Nicola. He always has to be right. He always has to be the last person that has the last word, and I'm absolutely drained. So I wanted to create a podcast for you in case the same is happening for you. And let me first start by saying I'm sorry if this is your situation. I'm sorry if you are married to someone that always has to be right. Or if you yourself are a person that always has to be right, then maybe this episode will be eye-opening for you to change. Often couples that I meet can have a lot of issues because both always have to be right. And then there's that constant conflict there. Because many things can become an irritation in a relationship over time, especially if one person is always arguing their point of view, always fighting that they are right. And it can be really frustrating if you always have to be wrong in the relationship, if they can never be wrong and never admit that they are wrong. And you probably tried in the beginning to get your partner to see things from your perspective. But as it seemed to go in one ear and out the other, you most likely stopped. Dealing with a husband or wife that has to be right can certainly feel like nothing you say matters, and you may have given up on talking to them altogether when a disagreement occurs. You may have learnt to shut down or to walk away. Living a life with someone who is always determined to be right can be exhausting. It can lead you to feel invisible. So if you felt like this or are feeling like this right now, before you head down the separation, the breakup and divorce route, there are some things that you may want to explore. So I'm going to be sharing this with you today to help you. The first thing is to not engage in your partner when they won't listen or are aggressive. When your partner is constantly telling you that you are wrong or always insisting that they are right, this is a sign that they're trying to bait you into a debate. This is how your partner may feel like things are normal for them, because this is the way they are used to discussing things. It may be the way that they function in their relationships. Often it comes from the environment a person is raised in. If your husband or wife had a parent that always had to be right, or were taught that being wrong is a sign of weakness, they may have learned never to give up on an argument. Some people just love debates and arguing. I've even had a few clients share that this is how they show affection and their playfulness, by debating topics. To them it was fun or humorous, but for a lot of people it's torture, arguing all the time. Then there are men and women that like to create drama. Most of the time behind the drama queen or drama king way of living is a deep need for love and attention. Often an unmet need from childhood. So they create drama to be seen or to test their partner's love. And by testing their love, I mean they're pushing their buttons. They're saying they're right. They're testing to see if their partner still loves them, even though they're saying and doing all of those things. No matter the reason, the truth is you don't have to engage with them. You don't have to engage with them wanting or having to be right all the time. In fact, you will be making an own rod for your back, as the expression goes, if you start to give in to them. And by that I mean if you start to give in to them all the time, engaging and entertaining arguing with them, or always allowing them to be right, you will find it harder and harder to create the much needed change in your relationship. Most of the time, the need to be right and to make someone else wrong comes from the ego mind, which is not even remotely close to drama created about the facts. To help you and the relationship, if you are not interested or bothered about the topic, do not engage in the debate or argument. Don't react. This can sometimes be the start of that person that you love changing. When they realise that they're not going to get a result from you, they're not going to get that reaction from you, hopefully they'll begin to not continue to try and push your buttons. The next thing to consider is to setting boundaries in your relationship. For a partner always to be right and always insist that they are right and that you are wrong is a clear indicator that they like to be in control. Sometimes they may even be attempting to get you to doubt yourself. You will need to learn to be firm with your partner, especially if you have taken the decision to not engage them in their argument. For example, you may want to say something like, "I feel upset because it feels like you are disrespecting me," or "I'd rather talk to you when you listen and take on board my opinion." If they continue to barrage you with why they are right and why you are wrong, you may need to leave the conversation, literally, and refuse to engage in it, as there's never an excuse to be disrespected. And they may most likely come after you and try to get you to engage. But if you really want to create change, you will need to be able to stand your ground and protect yourself. And if they tell you that you are wrong, you can simply reply saying, "Yes, that's your opinion, and you're entitled to your opinion, just as much as I am entitled to mine." And really remember that you don't feel that you have to defend yourself or justify how you feel, because how you feel is how you feel, and we don't need to justify that. By being able to stand your ground on things like this, your partner will hopefully soon get the message that their behaviour is not going to help them get the results that they are after. And by standing your ground and not giving in to their behaviour, you are helping yourself break the cycle that they have created and help the relationship to change and develop. And the last thing you may want to consider is relationship support. Looking for help from an outside source in the form of private relationship, online or in-person coaching or counselling can help to put the situation into perspective for both sides. The input from an impartial third party can bring welcomed points of view. It's helpful because when someone is constantly being told that they are wrong or made to think that they are wrong, that person can then tend to doubt themselves. They can doubt their own thoughts, their own perceptions. And this can be damaging to a person's self-esteem and a sense of who they are. And unfortunately, I get to see that sometimes, where someone has believed for a long period of time that they're always wrong, that they are communicating in a wrong way, that they're living their life in a wrong way, that they're thinking in a wrong way. And it's really sad when they feel that. And I can help them to see, actually, you've got a great perspective and you don't need to be feeling like this. So it can help sometimes to have a third party to point out, actually, your feelings, your thoughts, your reactions are justified, they're normal, they're natural, and you're not going crazy. Seeking outside help can also be helpful for the partner that always thinks that they are right, to help them readjust their behaviour, because being told something by a third party can have a different effect on the person as opposed to coming from the partner. Sometimes people will listen more when it comes from an objective viewpoint. For example, I had a man recently who came for coaching to change his need always to be right. They were having other difficulties in the relationship, and he recognised in himself, yes, we argue because I always have to be right. So we looked into where this was coming from, and it was coming from his childhood. He had a difficult stepdad who always had to be right and proved that this man that came to me for relationship support was wrong, and he couldn't accept being wrong. So he used to fight with his wife all the time. until she was ready for divorce. And this realization that actually this is coming from his childhood, and recognizing that he needs to change the way that he communicates, he needs to change the way that he has arguments or has disagreements with his wife, and get into action into changing this, really supported him. And we talked through, how to remind himself of it's more important to be happy than it is to be right. We looked at walking away before he gets angry and defensive. We looked also at doing some hypnotherapy for him, just a couple of sessions to help reprogram his mind into thinking more positively and to letting go. Because often when we feel that we have to be right, it's because we're scared of being wrong. And when we can let that go and let our mind know that it's fine to be wrong, that we accept ourselves, and just to let go of anger, let go of irritation, lots of things can change. So a great question for yourself whenever you're in your next argument is to ask yourself, is it more important to be happy or to be right? And now this couple are really, really close. They are having another child together, and their relationship is back to how it used to be when they first met. So if your partner refuses to get help or doesn't believe in therapy or counselling, don't be quick to dismiss it yourself, because it can be a vital support for you. If you're feeling deflated and want help to define and stick to healthy boundaries that you create, then you can also do that. Having someone to work with can hold you accountable, can help you to install new habits, can help you to build your self-confidence, and it can give you that vital reassurance to know that you're not always wrong, and this can help you to feel strong and happy again. And the last thing to look out for is if you are dealing with a narcissistic partner. The term narcissism and narcissist is constantly being bandied around these days to describe men and women who are controlling, self-centered and obnoxious. More and more people are beginning to wonder if their husband or wife is a narcissist. In fact, I would say not a week goes by without someone telling me that they have read online about narcissism and are concerned if they are in a relationship with a narcissist. The most common question is whether it's possible to change a narcissist. And personally, I don't like to deal with labels. And when I'm helping people to transform their relationships or to transform their lives, I like to instead work with the behaviours. Because if you're worried that your husband or wife is a narcissist, and you read the online checklist, for sure you're going to find boxes that they tick. Because there are so many boxes and so many traits under the label that you're going to come out with a conclusion, if you follow these online quizzes and tests, that they are a narcissist. So I get men and women that I support to list out their behaviours that are causing them trouble in the relationship. And then one by one, we look at dealing with these. Just because your partner likes to be right doesn't mean that they are a narcissist. The most common description of narcissistic behaviour is someone who is incapable of seeing other things from another person's perspective. They are also constantly need the admiration of other people to feel good. And this is why they may act excessively and always insist on being right. And if you're dealing with a narcissist, it may be more difficult to convince them to change their ways. However, I like to look at the reason why they are behaving like this. If someone is so needy, they need to have attention and admiration and cannot bear to be wrong, it's highly likely that they are wounded or hurt in some way. It's their wounded self that is hurting you. And when we view it from a compassionate standpoint, we stop fighting and start moving forward. You can then decide, do I want to wait for them to deal with their past and support them, if they're ready to work on themselves, and if they allow you to help them? Or is it time for you to part ways? Only you can know that answer, and only you can make that decision. And speaking with a specialist can really help you to explore all your options to help you gain clarity. Because you want to do an assessment before you jump into any kind of decision around your relationship. You want to see, are they willing to get help? Are they willing to change? What strengths do the relationship have? What weaknesses? And get yourself out of limbo and into making a decision. The first thing I do when someone comes to me and says to me, Nicola, I feel that my husband or wife is a narcissist, is I focus on boosting their self-esteem and their self-confidence, helping them to be the best version of themselves that they can be. Because when they're the best version of themselves that they can be, they're going to be feeling alive, happy, and then able to set those boundaries that they need to set in the relationship and see how their partner responds. And if their partner responds aggressively or cannot accept them being a happier, stronger person, then they need to decide, is the relationship serving them? And ideally, if their partner can see the changes in them and decide that they want to change their ways themselves, this can be an amazing breakthrough for a couple where they create a completely new relationship because they've both completely developed, overcome any issues from the past and found a new way of relating, of loving, of enjoying each other. Relationships should always make us feel more than rather than less than. So if you're in a relationship where you feel less than, it's important to assess how you can change that. And if you're not sure how to change it, or if you know how to change it, but it's difficult and it's challenging, do get in touch with me. I do offer a free 30-minute breakthrough session where I help people to transform their relationships. And then at the end, if you decide that you would like to work with me, I can explain to you more about how I support individuals going through this over time to really transform their life and their relationships. And often these relationships happen in a pattern. We fall for the same people with the same kind of traits. So it's really important to break the cycle and to free ourselves. Because staying in an unhealthy relationship is not a way to live for anyone, obviously. So I hope this was useful to you today. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm sorry if you are in a relationship where someone is always having to be right, where they are, it's my way or the highway. It can be challenging, and most of all, the most important thing to take away from all of this is to definitely do things to protect yourself and to increase your self-confidence and your self-love, because this can change things dramatically. So from my heart to yours, have an awesome day ahead wherever you are. Thank you so much for listening. Without you, I wouldn't be able to do the work that I love, so I'm truly grateful for your support.
Thank you for listening to How to Save Your Marriage with Nicola Beer. To book your free marriage strategy session today, you can visit www.nicolabeer.com, where you can also get the free marriage fixing ebook, request a topic for the show, and make a donation if the show has been of benefit to you and you want to help keep it going. We wish you an amazing love-filled day ahead.